Welcome to Camp.Grill.Eat, where we're cooking up delicious meals to make on your grill, smoker, Blackstone, or for your next camping trip. I'm Angie, and today we're making skillet bourbon apple crisp. This recipe is a great Thanksgiving or autumn dessert, and you can make it entirely in your cast iron skillet on the grill. So not only does making it on the grill add some smoky flavor to your dessert, it keeps your oven free for all the other important dishes if you're doing this on Thanksgiving, and just a great dessert to make outside. So for this recipe, you are going to need 3 large apples, or 4 or 5 smaller ones. You want about 26 ounces total weight. Honey crisps are the gold standard for making apple crisp, but you can use any good baking apple. These are actually Fuji apples, and they'll work out great. So you peel and slice those up. We also use some flour, oats, butter, brown sugar for that nice molasses caramelly flavor, a little bit of cinnamon, and some bourbon, which gives the crisp a nice smoky flavor. You can make it without the bourbon. You could sub in a little bit of maple syrup or vanilla if you wanted, but if you're okay with using it, it really adds a lot of great flavor. So let's assemble this crisp. Okay, I've gone ahead and peeled and sliced the apples about a 1/4 inch thick. For anyone that's made an apple crisp before, you know this is a super forgiving dessert, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just peel them and slice them up best you can. Just want thin, even slices. So to our apples, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and 1.5 tablespoons of bourbon. And we're just gonna mix everything up so those apple slices are nice and coated. So in the meantime, I have the grill preheating on indirect heat. So we're essentially using the grill like an oven. We don't want heat directly below it, otherwise we may end up with sort of burned apples on the bottom. So I'll show you when we get out there, but if you have the ability to put heat on either side of your skillet on the grill, that's ideal. If your grill's not big enough to accommodate that, you can always turn your skillet halfway through baking, but ideally you don't want to have to open the grill at all while the crisp is cooking, because that just lets the heat escape and then it takes longer. But since it's such a forgiving dessert, if you need to, it's okay. Okay, so we have our apple slices nicely coated, and we're going to dump them into our cast iron skillet. I have coated the cast iron skillet with butter. I'm just in the habit of doing that with all my skillet desserts. You don't have to, because there is butter in the topping, and I've never had issues with it burning or sticking, but just in the habit of putting a little coating of butter on the bottom. So just get those into an even layer. In your skillet. And then we'll make the topping. You can use the exact same bowl that you used for your base for the topping. Nobody needs extra dishes in their life. Okay, so for the topping, we are gonna combine 1 cup of oats and another 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 6 tablespoons of flour, and a teaspoon of cinnamon, along with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If you're using salted butter, you can just use a small pinch of salt. Unsalted butter, use the full 1/4 teaspoon. So mix these up, and then we'll work in the butter. So we're gonna be adding 6 tablespoons of butter to this mixture. Add that in. You can use a pastry cutter to mix it in, or you can just toss it in with your fingers and break it down into, you just want little pea-sized pieces of butter throughout the mixture. Again, because it's such a forgiving recipe, it does not have to be perfect. Just get that butter broken into small pieces. You can chop it into tiny pieces too. And it's best if you start with pretty cold butter, because obviously if you're using your fingers, it's going to warm it up pretty quick and get pretty soft and sticky. So our topping mixture is ready. We've got little pieces of butter scattered throughout, and we are going to put it on top of the apple filling in our skillet. So we'll grab the skillet, and then we'll just scatter it over the top. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Just try to get it as even as possible so that most of the apples are covered. You can always smooth it out a little bit once. Okay, so now we can head outside and put it on the grill. Okay, so we have the skillet on the grill. As I mentioned before, I've got heat on this side and heat on this side with no direct heat underneath it. Again, if your grill is smaller and you can't accommodate that, you can put heat on one side and just rotate your skillet partway through cooking. This is going to take between an hour and a half to cook, just depending on how often you open the lid and how hot your grill is, but you want to keep it around 350 if you can. So we'll check back in about an hour. We're looking for golden brown oats and soft apples, which will tell us that. We've just pulled our crisp off the grill. As you can see, the topping is nice and golden brown. The apples are browned and softened. Some of the edges are a little bit crisped. This took about an hour and 10 minutes to cook. It was a little bit closer to 375. So just depending on the temperature of your grill will determine how long it takes to cook. Serve this crisp with a scoop of ice cream or some whipped cream or whipping cream poured over the top, and enjoy. Thanks so much for watching. Please click subscribe for more content. As always, a link to the full recipe is included in the description below.